Let's make history. The area of Brooklyn, which would become the small neighborhood of Vinegar Hill, was called Renegoconk by the Canarsies. When the Dutch arrived in the early 1600s, it became part of the town of Brookhaven, which is where Brooklyn got its name from. And I was extending all the way down towards downtown Brooklyn, going into Red Hook. Then it didn't take long, about 20 years after the arrival of the Dutch, the first ferry service was available up by the top of Fulton Street, which is around this whole area here. The Dutchman who acquired the land from the Canarsies was named Janus Rapelye, and he owned the area all along the Wallabout, which is the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and into Vinegar Hill. And he's significant because his daughter was the first European born in the Western Hemisphere, Sarah Rapelye. After him, it ended up in the hands of the Sands brothers, Joshua Sands and Comfort Sands, and they purchased the area like Vinegar Hill, Dumbo area, and they called it Olympia. And it was meant to be, like many other Brooklyn neighborhoods, it was meant to be like a second home for wealthy Manhattanites who wanted to get away from the congestion of the forever growing Lower East Side. But it didn't take off, it fell through. They didn't develop as they envisioned it. The next set of developers who got it called it Vinegar Hill after the Battle of Vinegar Hill and the Irish Revolution, because he wanted to attract the hordes of Irish immigrants now piling in to the region, because there was a lot of work at the nearby Brooklyn Navy Yard. Ship work, shipbuilders, you know, and the neighborhood also developed a nickname. It was one of the few neighborhoods in Brooklyn known as Irish Town. The vicinity saw even more growth with the building of the Brooklyn Bridge in the late 1800s. I'm in Vinegar Hill Historic District section of the Vinegar Hill neighborhood, and it was during this period in the 1800s where a lot of Greek Revival style housing was built. And even to this day, when you walk through Vinegar Hill, it feels like you stepped into an old European village. As far as I know, there's only one school. It's an elementary school right there on York, a couple blocks up from the F train station. The neighborhood is only about a 5 square block radius, if that. And it's interesting because Farragut Projects is considered part of Vinegar Hill, but it's such a stark contrast. Like many neighborhoods in Brooklyn and New York in general, many of the boundaries are fuzzy. And Vinegar Hill used to actually extend down towards Artillery Street. But once the BQE was built, that section took on a life of its own.